Hello, good morning, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this AMA session with myself, Ray Smith. So for those of you I've met a few times, you'll probably be familiar with my Irish accent and a very talkative nature around anything linked to CRM and the front office. So to introduce myself to everyone else, the name is Ray Smith. I'm the Dynamics 365 Sales and Customer Voice GM. Today, I'm looking forward to a fruitful conversation, lots of questions that I'm willing to answer anything. So don't be afraid to put a few hot potatoes in the questions, and I'm happy to kind of dig in deeper. So just kind of by way of intro, as I said, I arrived to Microsoft just over a year ago. I've been in the CRM space for about 20 years. So I've kind of, back in the days in Accenture, implementing CRMs. So as an SI, then I went into creating a startup, which was effectively trying to sit on top of CRM. So the startup was called Datahug, was founded in Ireland and ultimately acquired by SAP. And since the working at SAP on their Sales Cloud and CRM strategy, I came to Microsoft. And the biggest thing for me is, I believe there's been a trend or a shift in CRM over the years, from on-prem to obviously moving to the cloud, then to having an ISV or an ecosystem to kind of, I won't say paper over the cracks, but really help optimize the workflow for the front end users and sellers and service agents. And really now to, I would say, the next wave of CRM, which is really going to be more data driven, so more automatic capture of data, more insights that to kind of get and help sellers and agents and marketeers. But the most important one is really, I feel, is around getting on the workflow, because no matter how good the data is or how good the insights are, if you can't get it at the fingertips of the average user, well, then it comes to no good, right? And I think we all, having been linked to CRM in the front office for so long, we know that there's many people that lament adopting or using CRM, or the old adage of garbage in, garbage out. So today I'd love the conversation to be around almost like where the future and the market trends are going. I believe CRM, as I said, is shifting from a traditional CRM approach of kind of database or forms over data and ISVs to more kind of composable pieces, more automatic data capture, more insights, and then really these highly optimized user experiences or workspaces to help keep people functionally prioritized or streamlined in their day-to-day activities. And I think that's even more relevant now because of COVID, where people are sitting at home and they just don't want to have to, context switch, alt tabs, go into a collaboration tool to switch then to an email. So it's really around how do we infuse all the best of productivity, collaboration, and deliver experiences where it's for users. I would say traditionally we would say that CRM was by managers and for managers. So it was kind of designed as a reporting tool. And that shift is well and truly happened, that it needs to be more optimized for the functional workflows of the ultimate end users, which is predominantly the frontline sellers and agents. So, please do ping your questions in the chat window. We've got a few that were sent on previously, and we're going to hand it over to Pervin to put me on the spot and ask some of those questions on your behalf. I think the key point I feel from our investment thesis is, it's all around customer experience, right? So how do we better understand our customers, empathize with our customers, right? So that's getting as much data back into our systems to understand our customers, to know if they're feeling pain, to know if they're having bad experiences, to know if our brand is not representing well. And with all of this data, then how do you then derive insights and ultimately get it on the workflow? And the reason why getting it on the workflow is important, because particularly from a B2B businesses, if your people are the frontline interactions that your customers have, if you give them tools that are laborious, painful, no insights, and hard to get the data, well, they're not going to deliver the best experience to those customers. So deliver on that user experience will ultimately help delight the customer and meet those customer experience demands. So that's the kind of thesis or thinking. We're investing as part of that around customer voice, around a feedback management solution. We're also investing around a digital selling kind of workspace or a cockpit experience, infusing prescriptive guidance around leads, accounts, opportunities, power dialers built in, conversational intelligence built in. A third one is around what we call Project Continuum, which is infusing all those productivity assets on the workflow. And then we're also investing around the mobile and under NDA, which we are the kind of quote to cash space as well. We're trying to create that framework to streamline that quote to cash experience. So I'll kind of pause now. I'm starting to see some questions coming in. So Pervin, I'll hand it over to yourself maybe to start kind of moderating or posing some of those questions and helping me out here.
Well, let's start with one that came in straight from the Q&A. This was from Andrew Bibby. Hey, Andrew in London. What are you doing? What do you see as the future for LinkedIn integration with Dynamics 365 Sales, i.e. not via Sales Navigator?
Andrew, it's a great question. So this is one of the key, so I see 4 key hubs or services as part of Continuum, which is Teams, so a collaboration platform, and obviously that's even more relevant now on the back of the news around Slack. You've got your Outlook, so your email and your calendar. You've got your CRM, and then you've got your professional network. So they're the 4 tools that your typical seller or agent lives in, is part of the front office. I see LinkedIn as a key component of that from a reference standpoint. Obviously, LinkedIn themselves have their own member first policy. They're going to protect that golden data set. And so it's really around how do you work with LinkedIn in that regard where you augment it on the workflow. So whether you're infusing search, the enrichment around the kind of the profiles when you drill in on a contact or a company, and then also then where you offload not just from flagship like LinkedIn flagship, but ultimately to the Sales Navigator for more of the prospecting capabilities. So I do see it as key. There's a lot of work that we're doing to make those integrations more seamless and on the workflow, and then have that more natural offload to saying, hey, this capability is available only with Sales Navigator. So there will be obviously a point where there is the transition. So I do see that as a key part of our integration work and that seamless user experience as part of Continuum, and I suppose watch this space in that regard. I see the another follow-on question here, Pervin, from Andrew. So I'll just keep rattling on, and if you want to pose questions, let me know. But this one, just a follow-on from Andrew, is around what do you see as the key differentiators for Dynamics 365 sales versus Salesforce? So I would say the common feedback we get from the customers is Salesforce is like a walled garden. The data is kind of siloed. Even through the acquisitions, they can't seem to make it kind of, unlocking the data and unifying the data, etc. So I would say traditionally the message that keeps coming back is the one Microsoft, and it comes back from a point of view of the data is kind of unified. It sits on the single platform. We've got Power Platform that sits on top of it that allows us all the flexibility and agility our business needs, even if we're not using everything Microsoft. So we can kind of still plug and play and work with disparate software in the ecosystem. So that is a very key and killer differentiator. Now, it does come, I would say, a lot from the IT side of the house or the CIO office. I think for me, where we're going is what is that one Microsoft differentiator for the business decision maker or the end user. So factoring in some of those best in class and truly differentiated or unique assets that Microsoft have across Office, Teams, and LinkedIn. How do we create that one Microsoft experience for the typical end user or business decision maker where they say, hey, this is just seamless between calendar, email, collaboration, meetings, reference prospecting into workspaces within the sales or service domain. It all just works. It's just seamless and it's intuitive. So I would say we've typically differentiated on the One Microsoft and the platform and the agility that this platform provides. I see us going more and more over time to differentiate both on our AI capabilities and our One Microsoft integrations and assets that we would have. So that was a great one. Question from Steve. Steve, you normally give me some good questions. So the future of Sales Pro. This is a really good question. So we're continuing to invest in Sales Pro. Sales Pro, as you know, is our kind of SMB, kind of partner-driven, easy sign-up and trial experience as part of our kind of core CRM offering. We continue to invest there, but as part of Project Continuum, where we're trying to, really simplify the experiences, reduce the navigation. We're introducing this new search capability, which will really streamline our navigation experiences. We're looking at all of these concepts as part of Continuum, that if we can simplify this for our average user, including predominantly our enterprise users, that lends itself well to making it much easier for people to trial, get started, and that whole experience of Sales Pro. So we're going to continue to invest, but at the moment, the focus is on that user experience, bringing together these differentiated assets, so that over time we can go even bigger or faster on the Sales Pro and the SMB space, and the partner-driven motion associated with that. So I think Sales Pro is here to stay. We're, as I said, as part of kind of Project Continuum and digital selling, we're trying to elevate some of these experiences and the kind of the UX, so that we can streamline it, which will lend itself more and more to an easy sign up or an easy provisioning from a partner. So just to kind of touch on that one. Another question here. I'm delighted that you guys are keeping me busy here and earning my keep today. So there's plenty of questions here, which is great. Next one from Paul Singh. And if at any point I'm not answering the questions, don't be afraid to kind of bounce back and say, thanks for the politician answer. Can you really answer that question? Or come back to that one and dig deeper if I've not answered it well. So from the question here from Paul Singh is, the AI in Salesforce is included in the package and heard to be very slick. I'm a fan of Sales Insights, but what is the plan to compete with their tooling? So this was very top of mind for me when I joined Dynamics. Simply, I didn't believe that we should have products that are separated out and treated like bolt-ons and made really confusing for our customers around, I'm buying the core CRM, but now you're saying there's some value add AI add-on here. And quite honestly, that hasn't landed well from a customer's cognitive load. Where we're shifting it to is just like a simple, it is all sales. So it's basically Pro, Enterprise, and Premium. And Premium being our kind of new incarnation or tiered structure of Sales Insights. So in other words, it's Sales Enterprise plus Sales Insights is Sales Premium. So we want to get to just the simple tiered structure in the very same way that Salesforce and many other SaaS products do. So it's like, and various levels of seeding of capabilities or features and functions, and all the way up to where we want to go. And from a customer standpoint, obviously, the discounts get more aggressive, or the ability to kind of see the value all the way up the chain to go to the full premium offering. So for me, it is around simplifying the understanding of what AI and insights mean. Like, I think AI done well is you don't talk about AI, you talk about the solution value, how it works, and the fact that there's just some intelligence in there is where the user goes, oh, it's not like kind of a feature label that we've stuck on and said it's AI. It's just, it works really well and it's intuitive. I mean, if you think about when people get an Uber or a Lyft, although that's many months ago now that people were doing that, but when they would call that car, they're not thinking about the AI capabilities and features that are optimizing the journey routing and the selection of the driver of the car. It just works. And I think that's the same concept for us, that we want to just make it a tiered structure. We want it to be infused and not a kind of afterthought for our users. And then ultimately building in the value and seeding that as much in the core workloads as possible. And then maybe if they hit a threshold, and they have to go to the upper tier. So in essence, I think that the key here is around how you package it, how you presented the value, and then building trust with the users that they say, hey, this is just a no-brainer. I use this to optimize my workflow. So for example, in Sales Accelerator, as part of our digital selling solution, how we pop items on that queue for the individual seller is using AI, but we don't talk to the AI. It's like they get to fine tune it, help filter, help do selections, help feed in prioritization rules. But ultimately it's AI that's going to feed whether it's leads they should follow up on, accounts they need to nurture, or opportunities, depending on the different sales persona. So in short, again, AI is key. It should be infused in everything. We shouldn't make it a specific call out or capability or feature or kind of SKU. It should just be part of a tiered structure built on value and solutions. And then it's all around the simplification of the packaging, and then seeding that as much as we can for the average user to be exposed to that value. And if they need, they can upsell or go to the next level. So hopefully that answers that one. That was a long answer for me, Steve. So I was trying to be convincing for you. So hopefully that touches on the answer. So go on, Pervin. You want to give me a break here? Take a sip of water. You're going to ask a question.
I do have one question that came in offline, but it came in from our user group community.
Yeah.
It also aligns to one of the questions that just popped into the Q&A too. There seems to be a lot of confusion or understanding that needs to happen between ourselves and Power Platform. And the reason why the question came in this way was, what's the difference between Power Platform and Power Apps sales capability versus Dynamics 365 in sales?
Yeah, this is a good question. Like, so as part of our strategies, it's very much like create the open platform, create data unity, create access to that data for one and all, both our customers and kind of ultimately partners. And if you think about, with CDS and the ability for people to kind of interact with that data and potentially build a lightweight solution, right? Obviously, that's where Power Apps comes in as a low-code framework to allow our customers and partners to accelerate building such solutions, right? And obviously, the complexity that exists in CRM, nobody wants to go and recreate or rebuild CRM in a Power App. I think Charles would be the first one to say, hey, that's not what he's trying to do. But from a customer perspective, they sometimes want the agility of just a super streamlined experience, a lightweight Power App that allows me to take some quick actions. So I kind of tell the team that's like healthy competition, that from a sales domain or service or indeed marketing, we need to be bringing IP, domain expertise, user experiences that are streamlined, optimized, that effectively, a low-code framework or indeed even ISV partners, it's hard to compete with that, right? So I see that as almost like a healthy competition, right? Our plan is to open up more and more of the, as a kind of a data and a platform. Now, there's obviously a time frame for that, and James and we've all talked about this at length, which is how the path from this, the IP and the rules and the business logic. Raw access to raw data is one thing, but the business logic that governs how you maintain that data, the rules around that, it's kind of sometimes hard to decouple that, right? And that's the work and the journey we're on. But I fundamentally believe that obviously the Power Platform is amazing. It's one of the reasons why I came to Microsoft and Dynamics. The Power Apps offers our customers incredible agility as part of this low-code framework to, particularly during these testing times, to build and deploy something quick to solve a pointed problem for them. Whereas traditionally that could be heavyweight, custom code, big projects that can sometimes be doomed for failure, right? So it's the rapid prototyping, deploying of these custom applications is a real differentiator in strength. But I see that as coexisting with, you know, the core workloads that would exist in both the front office and back office. So traditional CRM and ERP are not going to be displaced by a low-code app, let's say, or even a lightweight version of that, because there will always be customers that say, I need it to integrate, I need these security models, I need these validation rules, I need these business process triggered, etc., etc. So in short, for me and the team, you know, I tell them to embrace it. If we ever hear of a customer that's built a Power App to do something in the sales or service domain, my first question is like, awesome, let's jump in and figure out what they did, or what could we have done as part of the core app to facilitate that. And you know, we've sometimes seen that customers are doing that and then saying, oh, we realized that you've got more of this out of the box over here, so we can kind of go back to what you guys are offering. So there will be a synergy, there will be an evolution, but I see it as a healthy thing nonetheless. I don't know if that touched on the question for you, Pervin, but I know this is a topical one for the MVPs. I embrace the kind of the healthy competition.
I agree. It's I often describe it as, you know, we're all in the same boat, and either we are using a large sale or a small sale, it's still going to get us in the same direction. It just depends on how fast you want to be able to get to it and what capabilities you want right out of the box.
Yeah, and I've even seen some customers where they quickly build a Power App to integrate or interface with other systems, not Microsoft systems. And you know, they bring the data slowly but surely into a kind of a CDS or a unified structure, and then they just opt for more and more of the traditional, you know, business applications or Dynamics apps. And to see that evolution really validates the strategy as part of the Power Platform and Power Apps. You know, I think it is the easy to get started, you know, the kind of glue that can permeate an organization to help them, you know, fulfill business processes more efficiently, and then getting more and more of that data into a central store is just helpful for all of business applications. It's like a rising tide. So maybe another question here from, I see one from Julie. Julie Yak, thanks for the questions, everyone. By the way, this is awesome. I don't think I brought enough water to this session because, you know, you guys are keeping me talking. The problem I have is, you know, Irish people talk a lot as it is. I was a former CEO, which means, you know, people like to hear their own voice, usually when they're CEOs. So you guys are doubly plagued by the fast pace of me responding. So if anyone needs me to slow down, I'll try my best, but probably best just to speed up your hearing is my guess. I'll move on. So the question from Julie. Julie, what is the most underrated Sales Insight feature, and how do we get more people to use it? This is a good question. So I've been very kind of analytical or data driven around each of the features in our Sales Insights, you know, and there's ranges like any product development organization. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And for me, I told the team to embrace, you know, a very analytical or data driven approach to looking at some of these capabilities, understand why they're sticky, or if in some cases they're not sticky, and figuring out like what is the next thing we do in our next investment cycles. I think the biggest thing from my perspective is keeping the team focused on where we place investments. If we do a shotgun approach and try and invest in everything, nothing lands. So focus is king. You know, we've got 5 bets as part of this wave coming in April. And some during that period did not get invested. They're kind of, I won't say being maintained, but they're not getting a big investment cycle because we need to get the plan forward for what we're going to do to make it sticky, to make it successful, and make it kind of adopted or delightful for kind of users. So in essence, each and every feature is tracked from a kind of from an NSAT perspective. Now we try and boil it back. and then ultimately track it up into the underlying products or SKUs of Pro, Enterprise, and Premium. And that really allows us this objectivity of what are we doing and what are we not doing. One other thing I kicked off when I joined was a kind of a growth team, and really to drive this kind of customer obsession, not just create a lighthouse program with our key customers to help us co-innovate on some of our investments, but really to have the finger on the pulse as to what's landing, what's not, and kind of learn more as we get the feedback and feeding that with the product organization. So I would say there's a lot we are doing to be more critical of ourselves, of what we've put into the market over the last number of years. Not every feature or capability of sales insights has been a runaway success. So we have to ask ourselves, what do we do to make it more successful? Or indeed, even maybe we just focus our investments elsewhere on the bigger opportunities. So I think that kind of discipline will continue in my team. You'll see kind of more focused efforts each and every cycle, and then we'll figure out which are the ones. And this is where I would encourage everyone listening to share their thoughts and or feedback from customers on where are the opportunities that we're missing, or what are the areas that are kind of a pain point that we need to be investing more. So I think that's we'll continue to evolve the process, track the sales insights or sales premium capabilities and features, and make sure we're delivering solutions ultimately, something that's landing.
I'm going to give you. I'm going to keep you honest here. There was specifically, she did say, well, "What is the most underrated feature in Sales Insights?"
Oh, that's a good one. What is the most underrated? It's like being asked to pick out which of your children is not the prettiest or something. There's go on, yeah.
This is my 2 cents. My 2 cents in the capabilities is just the card capabilities in itself. The rationale behind it is I come from a dev background. So for me, having that presentation layer to be able to present insights through cards offers a lot of rich capabilities that sometimes isn't actualized in normal sales processes.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, Perfect, because we're seeing amazing use cases. Obviously, so as part of the Assistant Studio and the cards, and we tried to release some, off the shelf or out of the box kind of cards, and they're interesting enough. But really, as you touched on, the power of this is when you start to see customers using this kind of orchestration on the workflow for their sellers or their users, seeing the amazing things that are kind of being orchestrated or prompted and actions taken. So I do agree with you. We're seeing amazing stickiness when we see customers kind of adopt that, or at least take the time to understand it. But it is probably one of the ones that's most underrated, because a lot of people don't get it. They're like, is this just some notifications thing? How does this work with our business process flows? And maybe we need to get a bit more clarity out around the power of that. I think there's lots of capabilities that I would probably kind of at a glance go, is that going to be like a huge success? Is it meaningful? So an example like notes analysis is extremely sticky, and we get lots of feedback that that validates both the high usage and the value. But I would have seen that as just kind of like a almost like a small feature, not a big thing, right? I think where we're going with Sales Premium and Sales Insights is both our digital selling, so Sales Accelerator. Some of these must-have workflows, similarly with some of the capabilities around our conversational intelligence, Teams dollars. So there's a number of things that we're trying to keep it focused on full solutions or workspaces or workflows for users, and making that okay, I just need to go buy premium to get these capabilities. And as I said, we will seed it and push as much of that into enterprise as is commercially viable. But we would see that as going to be more the next wave of must-have, and then figuring out how some of these underrated capabilities can be either better explained or better infused as part of these bigger solutions. I don't know if that hopefully answers the question.
I think it definitely does. All right, next question Is Dynamics 365 customer engagement the right platform if you have multiple companies, in parentheses partners, with different Active Directories working in the same Dynamics 365 customer engagement instance, not through Power Portals? So it kind of sounds like this might be some of our older capabilities where Dynamics 365 on-prem could be used with Active Directory, not through Power Portal.
Yeah, I'd probably have to do a punt on this one, because I probably, whatever answer I give, I'm guessing it will be more from my kind of intuition. But like ultimately, I would say is we're seeing very regularly customers where through acquisition or through just the huge organizations, the different orgs, and they have multi setups. And I think once you get it to a cloud instance and then the unifying the data, that's really, and obviously the security profiles and access controls are all there and fully configurable. That's really where we can help these organizations where they don't know, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And it's actually a realization for a lot of these big orgs that how important it is now more than ever to be kind of cross-selling or better understanding the customer and all of that kind of things. But I think I need to dig in on that question specifically, because I don't feel I'd do it justice, and I'd probably have to lean on my Power Platform team to kind of get it answered, accurately.
All right, and just updating the chat here with that. Tyler has, how do you plan on growing Microsoft customer voice sales and compete against existing large enterprise survey vendors like Qualtrics and Medallia?
It's a great question, Tyler, and I'm sure Welly on the call here is delighted that it's been asked. So it's, I mean, again, when I came here, so I was involved at SAP as part of the kind of Qualtrics acquisition, and very much aware of how kind of it's a rising tide all around customer experience management, which I think goes beyond just a feedback management solution. It's, it's all about CE, it's around your CDPs, it's around gathering data insights as much as possible about customers and the experiences they have. So both transactional and the kind of the emotional side. So when I came here and I saw the capabilities we had kind of under the hood with Forms Base and then Forms Pro and all the interoperability with the Power Platform and Power Automate and Power BI for visualizations, I was like, we have all the ingredients that both Medallia and Qualtrics are heavily investing in to create. And their challenge really is that they're on an island, they're a company in an island, and they're trying to leverage ecosystem partners and connectors to kind of bring that data back into action, right? Because the problem with a lot of survey capabilities or feedback solutions is you come up with these great ideas to feedback customers, and the data comes back in, and then some analyst months later looks at it and says, oh, we kind of did so-so, average. But if you really dig in on that data, it could be segments of those customers, and they could be the high net worth or high value, lifetime value customers where you really care about how they feel. And if that segment is feeling bad, or if, key customers have given a 1-star rating and you took no action, I mean, how are they going to feel? There's nothing as bad as someone sending you a survey, you give a stinker 1-star rating and, comment that says, this service sucks, or your brand has gone downhill, and then there's crickets, you hear nothing back. So I think that the key to all of this is really around real-time action. So not just data sitting in a store, but turning this data into real-time action, and ultimately an opportunity to delight customers and create customers for life. So with customer voice was really all of these capabilities and ingredients we had that would not just compete, but actually differentiate against Qualtrics and Medallia. But packaging it up in a way into templates, and we're early on this journey. We want to make it super easy to get started, super easy for users to kind of pick templates and start embedding surveys on the workflow and getting that data back into the workflow as well when the feedback comes back in. So I would say we've got a real opportunity to differentiate largely because of our kind of platform approach and the plug and play and interoperability. And we're seeing lots of partners like Clarabridge, like Wonderflow, like, you know, ACSI building on top of the customer voice solution, because this flexibility is going to allow us and our customers to kind of get started. Even if they don't have any other Microsoft application or business applications even, they can get started with customer voice quite easily and plug that data into where they need. So I would, you know, I'll go on record and say I think customer voice is the rocket ship that we're building, that with a really easy adoption and easy on-ramp to then, you know, kind of grow up into a full CDP platform with customer insights, to grow up to a full CE application that sits on top of that data with sales, service, and marketing, and beyond. So it's definitely one I'm passionate around, and I'd love to get the MVP, you know, forum more engaged on some of our, you know, some of the customer voice deals that we're doing and getting feedback on that one.
We actually have an interesting conversation kind of happening between Welly and one of our callers. So I'm going to kind of read through it just so you can kind of follow along, but it's an interesting read. Do you feel that the market understands Microsoft's offering in this space? And Welly was obviously wanting to find out a little bit more deeper. Can you share what you think the market awareness and the market perception is from your perspective? We're certainly trying, but we want to find out perspectives on where that awareness is.
Yeah, I definitely agree that we don't have the right level of awareness or understanding of what customer voice is and the power of it, more importantly. So I think people are familiar with the kind of Google Forms and kind of, you know, Office Forms capability, was the kind of simple, lightweight survey for us to kind of poll our colleagues around what restaurant we'll go to next week, or get some internal feedback that doesn't need to go anywhere thereafter, potentially, right? It doesn't need to be linked to a record, or doesn't need maybe, you know, orchestration or visualizations to be driven from it. But that's where a feedback management solution fundamentally differs, and particularly as it relates to understanding your customer. I don't think we have that clarity of understanding. So that's a challenge we're kind of aware of and understand, and we need to do more of, both on the marketing side, kind of how we kind of launch the product, and, you know, how we kind of bring users through that onboarding experience, and ultimately educating both our partners in the field around the power and the potential. Like, there's not a single conversation that I can think of where we talk to our customers and say, do you listen to your customers, or do you care about what your customers think of you, your product, your service, your brand? And there's not a single customer scenario that I can think of where they'll say, no, we don't care about that. Or can you ask them, like, what solution do you use today to do this? And some will maybe mention the competitors, but it's still largely a greenfield space. And I think it's an easy conversation to say, well, you should be listening more to your customers to better understand how you can improve your product, service, and differentiate. You know, before we differentiate in price and maybe features, it is all about the experience today and how we differentiate our products. So I would say we have a ton of work to do here, and this is where we need more and more of these big logos like Toyota, you know, on stage, telling how they understand their customers and their needs, and, you know, through our network, through the field, through the MVPs, to kind of make this resonate and sticky with and just understood. So it is an awareness challenge we have, for sure.
So it's an interesting expansion to his question that he asked. Is he also meant that across all of Dynamics 365 products and Power Platform? So kind of frame the context. He was also looking to find out, what do you think the market awareness and the market perception is across all of our products and Power Platform?
Yeah, so I would say, so is it going, so just to clarify, Pervin, across all our products and the awareness, or the awareness of customer voice alongside these other products?
I think he actually meant one click up, and not just customer voice, but across all.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think some products are better known than others. Obviously, more recent investments, newer to the market. I think, you know, there's some of these spaces have big incumbents with big marketing spends, so it is a tough one for our newer investments to kind of fight for airtime. But it's vitally important that, you know, it's on how do you kind of create referenceability. It's not just kind of the marketing or the message you push out into the market, but it's also what customers say and, you know, how they tell their friends and so on. So I would think in general, we've done an amazing job on the Power Platform, the Power Apps, in terms of our, you know, recognition or understanding of low code and our kind of strengths there. I think traditionally on the dynamic side, sales, service, and indeed some of the FNO, it's just we're known for it, we're understaffed, but sometimes that comes with, you know, how do we kind of make them more aware of some of the newer stuff and continue to change perceptions of what they may have had, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So we've been on a blazing trail of innovation, both on the product side, growth in the market, and I think it's a constant need for us across the business applications group to raise awareness both on new innovations, progress and momentum in general and across some of these products, and just keeping them educated or aware of some of the momentum. But definitely some products suffer more than others because they're newer, or let's say the problem space or solution space is not as understood. I think everyone gets ERP, everyone gets CRM, and on the back of our investment on the marketing side around the Power Platform and the Power Apps, that is now we're kind of well known for that. So I think it's a mix of things, but I think the way I say it to kind of my team, and I made the example of customer voice, we just need to build amazing products, because amazing products, you know, have the ability to push through any marketing dollars and create kind of customers for life and referrals by virtue of just being a good product that people recommend.
Interesting. I have a question in the chat window that we'll answer, but it actually brings up a very interesting question that I've gotten from our user groups as well. And so the question asked was, hi Ray, interested in selling finance and operations solutions for Dynamics 365. Will this be covered? And please let us know if FNO will be covered today. The easy answer is we're not going to do a deep dive into finance and operations. However, I would like for us to talk about how CRM and ERP have traditionally been siloed applications, while there are integrations across the board. But I think, Ray, you have an interesting tidbit to start sharing with our finance and operations heavy focused customers.
Yeah, so I think one of the big things I've been on again over the last year, and a huge area of investment, is around connecting the front and the back office. And you know, I came from SAP where we talked around plans to do this, and but the reality is Dynamics has one of the biggest clouds. So it's probably the only vendor with the biggest cloud CRM and ERP setups in the market. So that's, let's say, opportunity. But the reality is we have a platform and we have a framework that will allow us, as part of CDS, to start bringing this data together, right? And let's talk about even on the B2C kind of domain. So, you know, the Amazons and the various retail stores of the world have already been pioneering on kind of supply chain optimization and how do you start bringing real end-to-end connectivity for consumers, right? So it's like, I need to know where my package is. I need to be able to change an order. I need to be able to kind of interact with a service agent, a seller, and those concepts are just as applicable in the B2B domain. So as part of like where we're heavily invested, and again, as part of the MVP kind of forum, you'd be aware that we're investing in the quote to cash space. And this is, you know, kind of, you know, in confidence, under NDA. We want to be able to connect CRM and ERP to truly unlock a common product master, a common pricing master, and that would lend itself both from, you know, sales all the way from lead, building quotes, through to fulfillment, through to finance, and making sure we can optimize and unlock that data holistically across that front and back office, because that's what the customers truly need. They do not need brittle integrations or data being trucked back and forth or different kind of sources of truth between the front and back office. So that is an area we are investing in. We think it's vitally important to help us differentiate. Obviously, FNO is one of the fastest growing kind of apps in the business applications group. So on the app side, and it's incredible how the innovation and what's happening there, and some kind of big announcement, big customers coming on a kind of weekly and monthly basis there. So I think really for us, it's around how do we capitalize on the growth on the FNO side, capitalize on our presence on the CE side, and start marrying these capabilities to truly unlock opportunity and growth potential. So, you know, already between kind of the key leaders across commerce, supply chain, you know, sales and service, we're working together to making sure we can figure out both the structure, the data kind of model, and then where these common master services can and should exist to offer that kind of seamless continuity across the different experiences, whether it's a seller, whether it's order entry and order management, whether it's, you know, finance or commerce, etc. So this is one that I'm expecting will come by way of an announcement by the end of, or by October of next year. Tons of investment going on, so I think it'll be exciting for all, particularly where we traditionally have kind of MVPs on the C side or on the FNO side. We'll start to be able to do more and more work that will link the two, even more so than today.
I see one that came in we're going to continue with this FNO Kick, but the FNO partners and ISVs are selling FNO as sales and customer service platform. Please encourage them to stop there, not helping. That's an interesting take. Let's start with your take on it.
Yeah, I think it's this same thing happened at SAP. So you're going in selling the ERP, and the customer's like, I just want a record of our, you know, customers or accounts. So there was the need in the ERP to have this kind of master data record of just the accounts, so that when they look up the finances or the inventory or the supply chain, they could just see it in the context of which account and record am I talking about. And then inherently that extends to, like, let's start adding contacts. And then people say, oh, well, that's kind of like a light CRM for the back office. And the reality is that's a kind of a recipe for disaster if different kind of master records of accounts and customers start to kind of materialize. And, you know, I think many in the market have realized the same challenge, right? I would say from a customer engagement and customer management, you know, I would like to think that we're going to be able to offer more of the capabilities, insights, intelligence, and the ability to integrate with FNO that would make people think twice around pitching kind of pure FNO or some Power App as an alternative to how you should manage customer engagements or customer management. So I think it's one we're aware of. I think the way I tell my teams is we need to just differentiate. We need to see it as kind of healthy competition, whether it's a Power App or whether it's people building a module in FNO. We need to be able to say, well, you could go do anything, right? It's a platform. That's the very nature of it, is if you want to customize and you want to build stuff, you could go do that. But in the end of the day, we want customers to think around what our first party apps offer by way of IP, by, you know, the kind of usability and kind of streamlined experiences for that domain, and making sure the interoperability and the kind of consistency of that data unity exists, so that people won't think about the maintenance headaches of building something bespoke, or maybe kind of having just kind of a record, because it's very easy to create a form that enters data, that puts data into a database. What over time people realize is that the business logic that maintains that data, that ensures consistency and ensures the kind of interoperability, That's where the headaches exist. It's very easy to create a lightweight form and present and say, hey, this is easy, but the headaches are kind of hidden and down the road. So I think the way I kind of tell my team, and similarly with the other app leaders, is let's just make the first party apps awesome. Let's make them, integrate and interoperate really well and seamlessly, that people just won't think about kind of building something custom or doing something kind of adjacent to those apps. But again, there will always be that option.
All right. Next question, and we are now less than 10 minutes from the end of this. So if you have any other additional questions, certainly get them into the Q&A. We'll try to get through this before we run out of time. And if we do run out of time, we'll certainly get back to those questions offline. So Derek has said, are we going to see any new focus for dynamics in the SMB space? We covered, the pro SKU. Is there any enhancements coming further in that space?
Yeah, I think there's I can say is across all the apps, and obviously there's Business Central, which SMB kind of focused, but I think in more broadly across all our apps is a focus around that kind of usability, the ability to kind of trial and start, and whether it's an existing customer who wants to try another app, or whether it's an existing customer who wants to try the next tier offering with that app, or indeed if it's just someone who's new to Microsoft or new to BAG at least, where they can come in and just get started easy, have an amazing first run experience and go, hey, that's simple. That didn't take an engineering degree to figure it out, to set it up and to configure it. So we will try and invest more and more on that kind of 5x5 or first run experience, the sign up experience, and that's across all the apps. Now that's not going to happen overnight. As we talk to, there's a huge investment around the experiences, the simplification. There's always going to be a need to make sure we're tailoring that for the customers and through our partner ecosystem to make sure it's landing. Like a huge proportion of how we sell Sales Pro today is through our partners and distribution. So I would say we will see more and more investment there. I would say, at least from my viewpoint, SMB is not the best market to be in because it tends to be kind of high attrition, low numbers, and kind of return on the investment. But it is an extremely long tail, and it's also how you get that kind of awareness and recognition across the market. And some of those SMB companies grow up to be very large enterprises. So it is something we're interested in, but it's like, what are we doing at the very core of these user experiences for enterprise mid-markets that also lends itself to that SMB play? So we will see continued investment there, but probably not like the number one priority. At least from my perspective, I'll speak from sales and customer voice. So hopefully that answers that one.
So there seems to be a continuation from someone else of this conversation. The offline capabilities are conditioned by the license, as in Sales Pro or Enterprise. Not sure the context.
Yeah, I'm probably not too fully sure on the context there. So I'm guessing if it's the mobile app or if it's on-prem, but I'll offline capabilities, particularly on the service and fields, field agent or field service, is, I would say, critical, because they've got people walking the streets, hitting warehouses where there may not be connectivity to the internet. I think sales is a little bit less, but still required, because many not too long ago, people used to be jumping on and off planes or trains and going through tunnels where they would need to kind of update their workload and make sure that when they got back connected, that was working with or syncing back to the mothership, so to speak. So I think it is an area of investment. Jeff on the service side is leading the charge there as part of the offline capabilities, but making that available with our Power Platform colleagues to be taken up by other apps. And I think from the sales side, we're more focused on that native user experience, so a kind of React Native framework to make the interactions more seamless and streamlined. but we do plan at some point in the backlog to have offline capabilities as well as part of sales, similar to service. So I think that one will be a kind of a regular kind of regular kind of investment area. I think it's just the speed with which the different apps uptake offline capabilities will be dependent on their use cases. I think it's on our backlog. We've got the new native app going, public preview in GA and kind of springtime from the sales side. At some point after that, the prioritization of the offline capabilities will, I'm sure, come to the fore. I don't have definitive timelines on that yet.
And I think Sam also had similar questions. Can sales professionals support the offline operation in the app, or is it restricted to enterprise in the mobile app and Android and iOS?
Yeah, I'm guessing this is specifically between the kind of the SKU licensing. We'll need to follow up on that one offline, Pervin, to the MVP alias, because I don't know if there is a restriction, because I'm guessing that's what Sam was kind of pushing the question there. In my mind, it'll be the same app that will be used between whether it's Pro, Enterprise, or Premium, and we'll try and make as much of that available on mobile, because that's just another interface similar to desktop. It's like not saying, oh, you can't use desktop because you have a certain SKU or license. I'd say it would be more on the feature or capability level that we should be using to differentiate. I don't see why offline should be one of those, because it's in our interest to get the data captured and in the system, even for pro users. But I would need to circle back on that one to make sure that, because as I said, Jeff is leading on the offline capabilities with the Power Platform. We have it in our backlog, but I want to understand if that's being used as a differentiation on our kind of licensing plans. We'll have to follow up on that one.
Sure, and we'll certainly post these questions and answers on the community side as well, so we can always post a follow-up to that there, additional to the MVP aliases that we have. The last one, even though we're 1 minute at time, and it's ironically from Steve Mordew, so this question is always going to be a longer question. Can you speak to customer experience platform, or is that still too early? Yeah,
I think the customer experience platform, so there's many pieces to this. Ultimately, that we're in a movement all around how to create the ultimate customer experience management solution, and that goes beyond CRM. It goes beyond. So if you look at it today, customer experience management, you've got Qualtrics and Medallia saying they're a customer experience management solution, but you could argue it's just like that's a survey or feedback management solution that's disconnected from your customer management records, your transactional system, et cetera, et cetera. So I would argue there's many pieces to creating an ultimate customer experience management solution. And it's also tautology to expect all the customers to be on one single vendor to achieve that, right? Because we've got a plethora of investments. So I think the key to customer experience management is interoperability and composable pieces that allow customers to kind of add on and get the better together story, right? And as I said, some of our customers have data from Marketo or Adobe. They've got maybe SAP ERP. They've got maybe even Salesforce, for example. So how do we, if you look at the kind of lowest level, customer insights or a CDP offering is allowing all that data to come together. Then when you've got all this data, then the key is to do something with it, both derive insights, but also orchestrate. And that's really where we're going with our kind of customer experience platform, or customer journey orchestration kind of strategy or solution. And that's from the CDP data, again, not necessarily all coming from within the Microsoft ecosystem, is how do you then start intelligently orchestrating to trigger events, to take certain actions for certain segments of customers, and feeding that into application layers. And again, those applications may be not dynamic specific. Obviously, when it is dynamic specific, there'll be a better together synergy and story where we can use that data or use that orchestration to plug stuff on the workflow and happen in a more seamless way, where then you can start linking back to that customer insights profile, right? So all these kind of all our apps are starting to link back to the customer insights and showcase and highlight those profiles. That's not to say that our customers equally have to buy, the full kit and caboodle. All of these need to be composable in pieces. So you can buy customer voice standalone, nothing else, and you can plug that to where you need. Similarly with sales, you have, if you have Dynamics or you have, multiple Dynamics products, all that data is going to sit on a CDS or a centralized view of the customer. We're also going to have our own intelligence and kind of AI offerings to be more intelligent with that data. And we're also going to offer orchestration, not just within Assistant Studio, but also into our Sales Accelerator and orchestration. So in isolation, each of these apps are going to be full solutions that are going to span data intelligence and intelligent orchestration of workflows. But we're looking at the full composable pieces that can link together to offer a full, complete customer experience management solution. So I think we've got an awesome strategy in this regard. I think it is truly differentiated relative to the market. And I think it's going to be easy for our customers to get started with us. One of the big things I've been pushing is how do we help our customers understand the crawl, walk, run approach to getting started in the customer experience management space. They could already have Dynamics investments, or they could just get started with customer voice, or they could just get started with customer insights and bringing the data together. So there's a ton on that journey or maturity scale that I would love for us to start sharing with our customers in the field. I know we've gone over time, but that was a difficult question, so I want to make sure I answered that for Steve and team.
Excellent. So yes, we are out of time, and if any other questions do come up line of sight, we certainly want you all to come to the community.dynamics.com site and certainly ask questions there. We're certainly going to keep an eye on any questions that might come up after the fact. For this AMA itself, what we will do is we will take this recording and we will post it to the community site as well for those of you who could not attend this live. And if you are watching this in video on demand and want to share this out to your friends, customers, anyone else out there, please do. We're going to be doing a lot more of these leaders sessions, and we certainly thank Ray for taking an hour out of his time, if not a little bit longer. But certainly, Ray, do you have anything else to close with?
No, I think there's some great questions. Clearly, I'm excited to share the kind of investment thesis and the energy that we're pouring in. There's tons of innovation coming and tons of work going on around the user experience. So really appreciate all the support from the community. Keep the feedback coming, and we're always willing to listen and take the feedback and take the advice and guidance to improve the products.
So as the last step, certainly thank you, Ray, for taking some time off, but thank everyone for attending. I know it's we've got a lot of things that we need to cover, so you should expect more of these sessions from us, as I mentioned before, but we would love to hear any feedback, and certainly see the link on the screen. It is https://aka.ms/RaySmithAMA. And we'd just love to hear what your thoughts are. You can certainly say that Pervin should stop talking. We should have Ray talk more, but certainly let us know all of your feedback, and we will certainly share as much as we can out.
Thank you, Pervin. I don't think anyone wants me talking more. I think we've crammed enough into this hour, but really thanks, Pervin, for organizing this, and thanks to everyone for the feedback and the questions. It's been a fairly fast-paced session, so really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, thank everyone, and you all have a great day, and if not, have a great holiday, and we'll kick off 2021 with a lot more of these sessions.